Welcome to The Prize Inside. The Prize Inside. A chiropractor's journey in everyday holistic health and vitality. Here, your host, Dr. Jeremy Myers, delves into the remarkable journeys of everyday people who have embraced the path to health and healing. Through his practice, Dr. Jeremy encounters inspiring stories of profound transformation and the power of true healing within each of us. Stay tuned as we discuss various holistic topics and unlock the healing potential that lies within us all.
Hello, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the 1% Tribe. Hopefully you guys enjoyed your Thanksgiving holiday. Apologize for my look. We had a little bit of snow in the old Michigan, so I got to do some, it was one of those gorgeous snows. Hopefully you guys all enjoyed it. It was this nice, the stuff you can sled on. You can do all the stuff. Nice day to like actually get out and do some things, but you had to plow a little bit of extra on this one. And shout out to my brother Ryan. I got a 4-wheeler with a plow on it. It's fun. So it's not exactly a really difficult thing to get out and plow and do all those kind of things. So this is an exciting one for me. One of my favorite things in my entire life is learning the visualization aspect of things. So tonight's episode is called "The Universe is Rigged in Your Favor: How to Visualize Real Results." And so what we're going to do is kind of go through some of the biggest minds in that space and kind of walk through what they've done. If you've seen, I've talked about visualization before. One of my favorite teachers, his name's Mike Dooley. Notes from the Universe, Mike Dooley. If you ever run into his stuff, I think he's the heir apparent, the best in understanding what I'm talking about when we talk about this visualization. Because it matters in all aspects of life. Okay. So before we get started, let me make sure that you guys are all getting there, because I had a new subscriber to my Substack, which is cool. So I always never push that. It's called Tribe One sorry guys, Substack.com. Hopefully there's not a getting online blooper reel. So tribe1.substack.com gets you on our email list to make sure you can go. We didn't go Wednesday night with Whole Health Weekly just because we knew there was going to be a ton of, and we had a ton of family stuff, going that night. So when something like that comes up, or like, it just shows you, hey, when is Jeremy going on? That would be a good place to go. And it's an email list. And hopefully I'm getting better where I can actually put articles in there, things of interest, so it won't be any spam stuff. It'll be just stuff that anybody that would watch this show would probably be interested in. Okay. So the other one is, we want to make sure everybody gets to our Rumble channel. It's called The Prize Inside on Rumble. And we got to make sure that's on there. YouTube is called The Prize Inside You. YouTube is a bigger island of crazy. So sometimes you're not going to get as much, on that part of it. And then, so those are the last two. And then if you really like to listen to podcasts, I'm the most proud of this, because years ago when I started it and I didn't complete it, now I'm way more consistent than I used to be. Our podcast is called The Prize Inside a Chiropractor's Journey. So all of those are options, like subscribe, like, hit a thumbs up. I saw something. I saw Julie. Oh yeah, this topic is right up your alley. And I'm going to give you some authors. So this one's going to be a little bit of like a book club. So tonight, what I wanted to do was I wanted to introduce you to people that have inspired me through this entire process of what they call the art of visualization. We've lost in our society and who we are as adults. We've lost the ability to imagine. And that ability to imagine is almost a sixth sense, in the sense of understanding emotions, feeling things, right? And so when we do that, we set ourselves up for a much, much more successful, situation. So what I want to do is kind of introduce visualization again tonight, and then see how we do. Because tonight, if you're watching, I want you to put in, once we start going, I want you to put in, something in the chat that will be super fun. So what I want to, Brian, how's the new, okay. So I'm going to use Brian as my example tonight. How's your new Maserati? Hopefully you got it all shined up. I know you were going out to get a Maserati, or was it a Bugatti? I can't remember. One of those two were happening for you, right? So that's the idea of visualization, guys. Not everything in this world has to be real and tangible right in our hands at that moment. That goes for health. That goes for healing. That goes for all of those things. What we have to do is start to understand that it's all there. God's given it to us. We just have to align and visualize, get to that point, right? And whatever framework you're looking at. So you could have, you can talk all of the different ones: health, happiness, relationships, financial. There's so many pieces to this. And so many times we've gotten suckered into this idea that it has to be this physical manifestation in our hands, or else it doesn't work. And that's kind of what tonight's about, because I really want to get into these really cool authors that are out there. So that's your task tonight. Throw something in the chat that shows. So what'd you drive this weekend to Thanksgiving? Was it a beautiful Corvette? Was it? Did you run to Thanksgiving? Did you run to your neighbor's house? You have fun with this. Like, use this as entertainment value as you go, right? So just enjoy it. Okay. So here we go. The universe is rigged in your favor. How to visualize with real results. Oops. Yeah, you miss one day and all of a sudden you miss all the technology. Yeah, so we're going to use today. We're going to go through looking at all these different ways of visualization and use different tools to do that. We'll overview some of the different visualizations and meditations that are out there that I really want to start a book club with. Aaron, what's going on? You're going to like this one. So with this, I bring up Mike Dooley all the time because that one's the one that got really inspired me. One of the things that I remember exactly how I got introduced to this. When I was starting to take over the practice of the practice I have now, Dr. Geimer, who is passed, but he's still this awesome spirit, like all the time. I always think of my nickname was Asshole for so long. And it was one of those awesome, beautiful terms of endearment from him. But one of the things was, he said, "Hey, listen, before I really retire, I want you to take a business course." So in this business course, I was taking it, and it was like a year-long course Once a week you'd get coached, and it was pretty intense. Like you had a lot of homework and those kind of things. And as I'm learning, I'd fail on some and those kind of things. But the lady that was my coach, always, it was very interesting. She was like, I don't think I've ever coached anybody like you. What is your story? I go, well, I didn't understand the idea of losing. Not in a life when you were the luckiest person on the earth to be able to be born into what we are. Are we ever losing? Do we ever lose to where, the thing? I've always thought of that because in high school, one of my favorite coaches, I had lots of great coaches, but one of my favorites was when I went from basketball. I was loved basketball, and so but my body style was kind of like a 5'11", 200-pounder. That was kind of not exactly a basketball guy, but I had Hayed, like went to the farm and Hayed a couple years for the wrestling coach, Dave Studer. Okay. So Dave Studer and his buddy or his friend, Kenny Flanders. So those two, when I was really young, I would go over and do a few years of haying with them. One thing that drove me back there was the amount of payday that a kid can make haying, and you're just physical labor all the time. But I got to know him really, really well. But I really enjoyed basketball. So wrestling and basketball were always in the same category to me, or in the same season. So it was kind of rough. I wanted to choose basketball. Well, eventually I decided I was going to try, going from my 10th grade year to my 11th grade year, I was going to try wrestling. So I call Coach Studer and I ask him if he needs a heavier weight wrestler guy. And he goes, absolutely. And I guess, wrestling coaches, it just depends. Sometimes they have, a lot of the smaller weights, but not a lot of the higher weights. This year they needed more higher weights. So I go out and he gave me a list of different camps and things to do before the season. So all summer I was doing all this wrestling stuff. And the more I got into it, the more I loved it. And it was partly the culture of what I was learning. I was going to lose. And how many kids at that young age get put in a position where they're going to lose? And I think I learned more from that than anything else. Studer, my first year, they kept me at heavyweight. I was about 215 pounds. They didn't have the 200. So it was you were either between 200, 275, or you could go down to 189. Well, I knew I could go down to 189 pounds. But Studer, me in my first year, he didn't want me to do that. So we went and we wrestled, like the whole year as a heavyweight. Well, one of the things that I was fascinated with in just the psychology of it, I was in a different mind space where every other sport I ever been, I wanted to be the most successful as I possibly could. When I got the mindset off of there, in the sense of winning and losing, I started to improve so much it would shock myself. As I became refined, I tried to keep my movements better. It wasn't about the winning and the losing. And so when I got to learn that at such an early age, there was never a losing. There was just learning what you could do better the next time. And that's what I want our lives to be like. Like as we go through this visualization stuff, one of the biggest key kickers is to understand that the end goal could be winning. It absolutely can be. But the problem is when we make that's the only reason we're doing things, that's where we've kind of got upside down, right? And visualization is exactly what 1% Tribe is all about. It's 1% improvement every single day, because if I improve myself 1%, you can stand taller. and each time we can go through that. So that's where the visualization started coming. And I just have so many cool stories. I got to see Mike Dooley live one time in Chicago. Read every book he's got. But then, researching who else is really good at visualization. I've heard several of these people. So with that said, let's get into it. Okay. So that's what we're going to go over tonight. So, what is visualization? It's what we want to do is harness it. We want to harness the thoughts to manifest our reality. Okay. So, what we're going to do is we're going to start with Mike Dooley, and then we're going to go into these other authors. Surprisingly, there have been some other amazing authors that I really want to, if any of you in the chat want to do it, we'll read the book together. I would love to do in a month or two to one of us pick one and then have you come on, as a guest on a Sunday night and we can discuss it, because that's how important visualization is to me. So what is visualization? The best way I can think of it is it's the deliberate practice of imagining desired outcomes with vivid detail, emotion, which is key, and belief to align your subconscious with that reality. Thoughts emit energy. That's a no-brainer. We know that attracts matching experiences. That's why the law of attraction principle became such a big thing. The core benefits of visualization that they found actually scientifically is it can reduce stress and boost confidence. It accelerates goal achievement. Athletes visualizing wins. It's hugely backed by science. The brain cannot distinguish between vivid imagination and reality. Think about that statement. The brain can't distinguish between vivid imagination from reality. That should tell you a lot. The brain scan graphics show neural pathways lighting up during visualization. Okay, so with what we're learning in the holistic paradigm of all things, how big is your energy? How big is the need of that energy? Your biofield, all of those things, they're all linked to your thoughts. What is the difference? What is a thought? How can, if I could pull it up today, go look on YouTube tomorrow, not during my show, but definitely, no, I'm just kidding. But if you put they can actually put a sensor, a headband on your skull, and you can fly a drone with your brain waves. If the brain is visualizing something and it's in imagination and visualization, wouldn't it come to say that it's actually the reality because it's in the energy? See what I'm saying? So that's where this becomes a huge tool for us if done right. It can also get us if not done right. Okay. So that's where that comes in. All right. So this is Mike Dooley. We're going to do a little introduction of each one of these authors tonight. And then anybody in the chat, you pick one of these authors other than Mike Dooley, because that's the easy one for me. So if you pick up Mike Dooley, I still want to interview you. So let me know if there's somebody you want to do, because tonight's about accountability. I want us to enjoy what I've enjoyed from visualization for many, many years. A lot of people say they want to do it, but almost no one does. But when I did it, I'm telling you, it's worth it. So Mike Dooley started as an accountant. He co-founded this thing called Totally Unique. Well, actually, it started as Totally Unique T-shirts. Him and his brother decided that he was going to do Totally Unique Thoughts. So it's called TUT. Okay. So that's where, if you can find Notes from the Universe, that's where that came from. And that was 1998. And he's been sending, so you can get on tut.com. So TUT.com. And get on for free Notes from the Universe emails in 1999. And now he has over 1 million subscribers daily in 185 countries. That's ridiculous. That's what I want to get up to. I want to have some kind of like email like he does, because he touches a lot of people. The universe essentially, so Mike's idea is that the universe essentially sends you an email every day, every weekday, to tell you how awesome you are in various different ways. So what you do is you sign up. He'll ask you a few goals of yours, those kind of things. And he'll align that email up so that the universe, every morning I get an email in my email box that I want to open up and go, man, you are amazing. For whatever that is, that's the universe talking to you to get you on the right step. Right. So the core belief of Mike's situation is the universe is a loving, responsive genie that only hears your end result and emotional charge. Never your doubts or your hows. Okay. So what the biggest thing about Mike's visualization is you're going to visualize the end in mind. You're not going to do the journey. Okay. So this is a big deal that I'm going to tell you. So Mike's whole training is about visualizing the end result, letting God take care of the journey. Let me say that again. Letting God take care of the journey. What our problem is we want to dictate the journey. So one of my favorite analogies of all time is I want to go from here to the Detroit Lions Stadium. Okay. Detroit Lions Stadium. And I put it in Google Maps. And if the highway is shut down for whatever reason, our way of societal thinking now is that we'll just go home. Instead of going to the Detroit Lions Stadium, let's say I have free tickets to a press box area, all you can eat buffet to watch the Lions in Green Bay. They'll even pull my car up, all those things. And the highway on the Google Maps is shut down, and it's saying to reroute. We got to go this way instead of that way. We got to go up a different road, right? Different highway. Got to go in the country. Well, instead of our society is, instead of taking the route, we say, well, that's not the route I'd like to go. So I'm just going to go home. I'm going to pack my toys and go home, because obviously it wasn't true. I mean, the highway was closed. Hopefully you're getting what I'm putting down. We tried to see where we want to go and try to frame that going the entire time. Where Mike, in his visualization, visualize it already occurring because God's already lined you up for it. It's your lack of being able to find it and trying to tell the universe how this is going is the key to the whole thing, right? You're trying to tell them which road to go down. Well, maybe that's not the road. Maybe you have to take this detour and that detour and this timing and that timing to really take it to the next level. That's why visualization with the end in mind, having the more emotion you can bring into it, the more you get your brain waves telling God that we are on the same page. Get me there with the road I need. I want to, God, I want to hit a home run. You're going to show me, but you're going to be pitching, right? We got to be able to do that. And that's one of the keys to the visualization that Mike Dooley uses. Okay. So let's do the framework for Mike Dooley. He calls it playing the matrix. Okay. So playing the matrix, get clear on the end result only, never attached to the details. Okay. So only the clear result at the end. You want a new girlfriend or some kind of relationship thing. Don't put a face on it. Don't put a name to the girl or the boy, whatever. Just say, this is the end result. I want a happy, loving relationship. Get the emotions as if it is already been done. Don't worry about the end result. Feel what that emotion would feel like when it happens, even putting the when in. It's already happened. Go feel what that manifestation feels like. Take little baby steps. Get out of the way. Always do action, right? Don't think that the love of your life in a relationship is just going to walk through the door if you're not getting out there and inspiring and working on yourself to be able to find these people, to run into the love of your life. Sitting in your couch or your house is not going to get it done, right? Trust the cursed hows. Okay, so that's the cursed hows are basically trying to dictate to the universe or God how I'm going to get to this end result, how I'm going to get there. Like I want to be down the highway. I don't want to take this detour route to the place of my dreams, right? That is essentially what they call the cursed hows. You're trying to how it into existence. So let the hows let the hows, let God take care of the hows. You just worry about the end result. So his most powerful technique is a 4 to 5 minute visualization in morning or at bedtime. Okay. So it's a movie-like visualization where we close our eyes, we get into what they call the first person. So you're in your own body looking at your hands, and then you're going to visualize a scene. Okay. So let's say you're going to visualize a scene. You're running on the beach. Let's, for instance, say, a good thing was after my middle school robotics, I was right before middle school robotics. I was really in a good workout routine. So after our season ended, I was like, all right, I'll get running or, getting my exercise routine again. And so I decided to, start doing it. Well, as I was running, I kind of tweaked my knee, because I run in like a field. So I fell in a hole, whatever. Well, then I thought it was no big deal. And then I rested for a minute and then I got up and I go, oh, that was significant. So I was like, okay, this could be a tough touch and go here for a minute. So I visualized that the next day at work, because I really do enjoy what I do for a living, that I would have no pain. And I'm high-fiving patients and I'm jumping, like doing all those kind of things. And so as the day goes, I go, whoa, that's kind of crazy. My knee actually felt better, right? So I did a few things, right? You want to do some actions to make that knee feel better by, resting it, put a little ice on it, those kind of things. Those are the actions you have to take. You can't be just sitting there going, okay, just let it happen, right? You have to manifest. You have to move. There has to be action. But the action has to be towards the end goal, not necessarily trying to do the hows, right? So anyway, so it was a very quick knee injury, which I was pretty happy about. So my favorite quote of this man, Mike Dooley, was, "The path to enlightenment is not a path at all. It is an allowance." Whoa. Doesn't this sound like some teachings that some like Christians know? Was there a guy named Jesus that kind of would say, I don't know, hey, if you had faith of a mustard seed or more, that you can do pretty much everything I do. You just have to allow it. Isn't that the same thing? It's kind of interesting, isn't it? The path to enlightenment is not a path at all. God gives you that, right? You have to allow the path to happen. So that's the longest one I'm going to do. Mike Dooley is my man. Oh, if you ever, out of all the things, I hope he gets a bunch of new subscribers. He's got tons of different classes, courses, books, all kinds of fantastic stuff. He's really, really good. Here's one that I found was fascinating, because my first introduction to visualization was Mike Dooley. Obviously, there was others, out there that did visualization. And so this is a one that I'm very interested. If anybody's up to going to get a book with me, this might be one, or I got another book I'm thinking about. So that we'll talk about. This author is named Shotki Gawain. She was called the mother of creative visualization. In 1978, she wrote a book on creative visualization, sold 10 million copies in 35 languages. The first mainstream book to treat imagination as a spiritual technology, which makes sense. Spiritual technology. It's also a scientific one, right? Brings the spirit into it. If my brain waves are energy, how can we deny the spiritual aspect of things? 4-step cycle she had. Set your intention. Set your intention. So that's kind of like what Mike Dooley said. This is my intention. Create a clear mental picture and affirmation. Focus on it often, especially in the alpha state, which is the alpha beta. So it's kind of the nice REM, that rest and relaxation. Give it positive energy. Love, faith, gratitude. Okay. So this is one of those, if you really want to focus on really good health, tell how healthy you actually are. How about all the positive things? There's a lot of good things out there, not just the one thing that's bothering you. So she introduced this thing called the pink bubble technique. You place your goal in a pink bubble, bless it, and then release it to the universe. That's kind of cool. We've heard that before, right? It's some ideas or versions of that. So you write down your manifestation you want to do. I have a little box sometimes. What blows me away is I never opened that box. Then I opened it and I had been to 5 of the 10 places in that box that I wanted to. Whoa, that blows your mind a little bit. But I gave it to the universe to figure out. It wasn't me, right? I didn't have to figure out the hows. Didn't stress out about when, where, all that stuff, right? Universe got me there, right? And it was because my brain waves are connected that way. There's a very heavy emphasis. She has a very heavy emphasis on healing the planet and collective visualization. And you got to remember, this is in the 70s and 80s. And this is kind of what they kind of link that new age stuff to it, which is kind of interesting because I have a theory. I have a theory that if New Age and Christianity actually intertwined and got together, it would blow up the world because they're essentially the same. There's not that much difference except for some of the astrological, those kind of things. Some of those things that my Christians wouldn't mess with. However, there's so many things intermixed with that. The chakras are real, right? The chakras, the biofields are real. That's why a lot of your saints and a lot of those people glue, right? Because they could see the chakras, and those kind of things. So it's always fascinating to me. I think there was as our world likes to do, is like separate us all into little kind of categories. And so we really do a good job as humans to do that. We try to separate you right down to, all kinds of stuff. And that way we can just talk about how different we all are versus actually solving anything. But that I digress. Okay. So this one's an interesting one. And most of us have been around when this was a phenomenon, the secret phenomenon. And actually, Mike Dooley was in the movie, actually. So that's kind of cool. In 2006, the book was sold over 35 million copies. It single-handedly revived the law of attraction for the masses. It was a 3-step formula: ask, believe, receive. Popularized vision boards, gratitude rocks, and acting as if. Featured Mike. Here's what's cool. I've met like 2 of these guys on here, or 3, actually. I forgot about Mike. So featured in the movie were Mike Dooley, who I've met, Joe Vitale, who's a chiropractor that I've met, Bob Proctor, Jack Canfield, who is the chicken soup for everybody's soul. That Jack Canfield he wrote Chicken Soup for the Chiropractic Soul. That's why we got to know him. Lisa Nichols, etc. Follow-up books from Rhonda Byrne or the power, love as the ultimate force, the magic, a 28-day gratitude practice that many call the most powerful, hero, and how the secret changed my life. So these are all ones that the Rhonda Byrne did. And it's another, and this is on the podcast, it's BYRNE. So she's done a few. The Secret was an interesting documentary. I think the power came into who she actually she interviewed. And so for me, what the reason I just you see it is because holistic and chiropractic is actually in this realm. The good ones, the chiropractors that you'll understand, don't look at the condition you come in with, but the unlimited potential that's there. So it's always a work in progress, no matter what, when the chiropractic aspect of things. Oh, I say that before I get on a soapbox. Brian says, did not God himself visualize his entire creation and what we would call the end times? But he still had to go through the creative process. It's so true. All you got to do is, yeah. That's what's so fascinating, is because with the snap of a finger, with a blink of an eye, right? All these things happen. And all of us have had these manifestations where, man, this is going to happen, and boom, it's there, right? One of the things, before we keep going, one of the things I loved in one of Mike's things is tonight, the first visualization I want you to do. Very simple. Take all of our transgressions, all of our guilt, all of our anchors to this world, and stick them on the side. We're going to do a visualization. Pick one of your favorite birds. Pick a bird, a blue bird, a red bird, any kind of bird, just any bird. Okay. And I want you to visualize that bird being in your life somewhere tomorrow. You see the bird. Okay. You could be driving into work. You could be at home. Doesn't matter. Let's see how good we are. Will the bird show up? I don't know. We'll have to see. But sometimes something like that, because you forget about the house. You forget about the house throughout the day. You hear about this bird, you remember. You're not going to remember well, how am I going to see the bird? Is it out the window? Is it on the car? Is it, right? You're actually going to see this bird show up and manifest in your reality. So try that. Try something simple, like seeing a bird. Let's say we want to see a bluebird tomorrow. Okay. So you could do that, or a feather, whatever you want to do. Let's do that. Yeah. Brian, so well stated though. Okay. This one was an interesting one. I've heard of him, but I never knew about his work. Okay. So Neville Goddard, the godfather of living in the end. This is called living in the end, this concept. The most influential metaphysical teacher of the 20th century, now exploding again because of TikTok and YouTube. Core teachings: an assumption, though false, if persisted in, will harden into fact. Right. Okay. So let's talk about that. If we visualize the wrong things, I like talking about positive visualizations, right? However, there's the other side of the coin. Man, I get on a skateboard. I hope I don't break my leg. Man, if I break my leg, it would be very bad. I just keep thinking I'm going to break my leg. Probably don't go skateboarding, because that's one of those things that, guess what? If the brain and the energy reality is true, then there's a high likelihood a broken leg. Take that to a lot of health conditions. Take that to a lot of relationships, financially, all of it. Replace the broken leg with any of those issues. And let's read that quote again. An assumption. So we've assumed this is what's going to happen. An assumption, though false, if persisted in which means if constantly thought about, will harden into an actual fact. Okay. So that's big. So he had a few flagship techniques. State akin to sleep is visualized in the drowsy state just before sleep. I really like that, actually. That's like the perfect time to do it. Imagining scenes played on loop until they take on a feeling of reality. Do that imaginary visualization over and over again. Yeah, like, okay, I'll give you one that Mike Dooley. I have, I think, 10 note cards. Okay. So I have 10 note cards, and each has something that I dream of in the spiritual realm, in the financial, in the health, in anything. Keep them completely private, little note cards. What I will do is once a month, actually December, I get to pick a new note card. So once a month, I will actually get a new note card, and whatever that visualization is, that's what I'm focused on. And so what happens is I visualize it over and over and over. And one of the reasons I do that is because before, when I'd visualize, sometimes I would do something different each day. All of us want multiple things. So how do you do it? Right. So this way, I have them on the note card. I gave it to the universe on the note card. Right. So maybe some of those manifestations will actually come true without me even doing the visualization. However, now I have this note card that I can do this visualization throughout the situation. Right. So remember the note card situation. And Julie says, say what you want, not what you have. Exactly. And we're going to align with that. And we're not going to figure out how we're going to get the want. That's the difference. It's not up to us. God's got that part, right? We just have to want it and be real about it. Quit asking how, right? Okay. So here's another one. So imagine. That's what tonight's about. Reimagine negative past events to change present future. So that's an interesting one. This one is the one book I'm thinking about, other than the other lady, but because it has this part that I thought was interesting. Reimagine negative past events to change the present future. So if you had a negative event, reframe it, right? Reframe it so it's not as brain space taxing on you, and then go from there, right? I don't know. I'll have to read more on that one. All right. And then this one says, isn't it wonderful? A vague feeling of something amazing already done. Zero emphasis on action. Okay. 100% inner state, right? In your inner being. Okay. So his books to read in order. This is why I'm like, man, this would be an interesting guy. So feeling is the secret. The power of awareness, the law and awakened imagination. That would be interesting. And you're talking to older books, so that'd be interesting. Feeling is the secret. Remember when we talk about emotions are a key to health, right? They always have been. Bad emotions, good emotions, it doesn't really matter as long as we understand where emotions come from. You know, when my hand gets burnt from a hot fire, I know where it comes from, so I remove myself from the hot fire. It's not great that my hand got burnt, but at least it didn't keep going, right? Emotions are that signal. But if I have a really good feeling, like a massage or the air on the outside, and I'm taking a nap in the outdoors, or like today, you get out in the wintertime, you're like, oh man, all the snow. And then you start getting out there, your body acclimates, and it's wondrous. Like you could stay out there all day. It's clearer, it's fresher. Oh, after a snow, in my opinion, I don't know if this is just me talking, but it feels like how it does after a rain. It's almost like it gets rid of the toxins of the air and you can actually feel it. Just feels great. So it's just one of those things where massage and getting into those emotional feelings is a key piece to everything. All right. So Neville Goddard, Goddard. So that one's a pretty good one. This is another one that I've met in person, which is going to shock some people when we talk about what is happening here, but pretty amazing stuff. So I'm just going to put it out there. So I'm a different Christian, guys. I keep my mind open as much as I possibly can with keeping your faith in where you want to. But Esther and Jerry Hicks. Okay. So Abraham Hicks and the Emotional Guidance Scale. So these guys are very big authors. Esther began what they called Channeling Abraham in 1985. And it's the longest, most consistent, I would say, positive aspects. Person, they write books. They have so many books out there. But what they introduce is super fascinating. So this one's called the 22-point emotional guidance scale. From the lowest point, the lowest emotion on the scale, because I've never seen anybody else talk about this stuff. And it's part of the core of who we are. Emotions, we have to start understanding them. It's kind of crazy. We go and we don't even talk about them. But here's how it goes. So 22 emotional guidance scale, it goes from despair, which is the lowest of low, all the way up to joy. Some of the key processes that Jared Esther Hicks used to get in this visualization is rampage of appreciation. So if I see Aaron if we had this set up, like we can just talk about how wonderful that person is. We need to do more rampages of appreciation. I could give, Julie, Brian, or Aaron just on my chat. I could give like a rampage of appreciation for each and every one of them. And I think we need to start doing that. I think that would be super fun to do a rampage of appreciation on one person, think about it. Like, how, just pick your wife, for example. You'd be like, how beautiful and smart and just all the different things, and they just start naming them, the laugh, all of those things. And once you start going, it's hard to not start complimenting everybody you meet because we don't do that a lot. I know, right? Yes. And the other reason we have to understand emotions is because Star Wars said this. Star Wars said this. And this is another place where the good force and the bad force, people, the Sith, we got to be able to fight them off. The forces of evil they have a lot of power with the bad dark energy, right? So they would have a focus wheel, a 17-second manifestation ignition, which is getting it going. Lots of different ones on the Jerry and Esther Hicks ones. The core message from Jerry and Esther, though, core message is get happy first. Everything else will follow vibrationally. If you're not in a good spot, don't pretend to visualize at that point. Don't be, don't take a visualization when you just had a worse day. Dog broke her leg. The kids are yelling at you. Your wife's yelling at you. Probably don't sit down and go, oh man, that's going to be a good visualization for my emotional up here. Maybe wait and take a breath. Maybe that's not the right time. So, but these guys, you can find them around. Abraham Hicks Publications is their name. Fantastic. Once you get on the right understanding of what they're talking about. So they are one of my favorites. Joe Dispenza. So Joe Dispenza is a chiropractor that is kind of took off in the mainstream areas. I personally have not studied him very much. What I've heard of him speak on documentaries and such has been fantastic. I think he could be one of those guys that you really want to take a look at. So this might be our guy. So if anybody's still up for the book of the month club, I want to pick one of these. So I think this would be fantastic. A deep dive. He combines. So he's a neuroscientist of becoming supernatural. Okay. So the only thing that I have a hard time with I believe we're all supernatural just in general. So I hate that we have to be something other than human, right? To show, because I believe in the innate intelligence of the human body. I think we just haven't figured out the innate intelligence. So when they say supernatural, it always is more than natural. Maybe it's more than we understand as natural. Let's say it that way. All right. So that's why maybe I haven't picked up a book or two of his, but that's how I work. So his he combines quantum physics, epigenetics, and heart-brain coherence, which is fantastic. Proven in 4 studies, 4-day advanced retreats that produce measurable changes in brain scans and gene expression. Signature meditations. He has 3 different meditations. Blessing of the energy centers, reconditioning the body to a new mind, walking meditation. Walking is your future self. So I want to do some of this at like our next when I actually have one of these talks and conversations at our house. So books in order. These are the books I want to look, maybe start with the first one, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. That might be my first book. So if anybody in the chat, let me know if you're going to do it. You are the placebo. You are the placebo. That's very interesting. And Becoming Supernatural, which is his major masterpiece. Okay. So Joe Dispenza, fantastic. He's really, really very popular now. You can find lots of videos on him, and it will inspire you pretty hardcore. This one was kind of good, and I'm going to tell you why. Because I have this book. Dawson Church is not. They didn't discover the emotional freedom technique, but he created the EFT. He's the founder of the EFT universe. He authored The Genie in Your Genes, and it combines visualization with acupuncture tapping, which is emotional freedom technique. One night, I'm going to bring that one up. I'm actually going to, yeah. So we'll make sure we bring this technique up so you guys understand it. It is fantastic. It is something. So what it does is it hits certain acupuncture points with specific tapping, 7 times, 10, multiple tappings while you're saying certain visualizations at the same time. When you do that, it gives you this technique that has really changed the lives of so many people. So EFT, emotional freedom technique, is a tapping technique on acupuncture points. And The Genie in Your Genes is all about your epigenetics, right? So one of my favorite authors of all time, Bruce Lipton, he's literally talking about changing your genes, understanding, and imagine this. We're getting close to the end, but imagine if okay, so I just talked about how your brain is a wave, how your thoughts are actually wave patterns, right? How your brain can't distinguish your imagination from reality. That's true. They've shown brain scans and everything else. If somebody's imagining, they're in that moment. They're in the reality of it, just like they would be, okay? Wouldn't it make sense that if my imagination and my visualization is leading me to a better situation in the visualization, wouldn't my body respond? Wouldn't it change the That's what epigenetics is all about. Turning off the genes you may not want, turning on the genes you do, growing your own stem cells. It's going to be doable, guys. I'm telling you. Once we understand the biofield, how to get this, I get chills just thinking about it. Every time you get the chills, right? You get those chills going, all of a sudden, maybe some stem cells are growing. It's pretty fantastic stuff. Okay. So Dawson Church does that. He combines visualization with acupuncture tapping, emotional freedom technique. And then he did clinical trials. He showed 1 hour of EFT plus visualization drops cortisol level, which is your fight or flight, by 43%, and boosts immunoglobulin A. Boosts immunoglobulin A. Eco meditation, 7-step free protocol combining EFT, mindfulness, and heart coherence. These are all people that, if you're interested, these are some great names. Dawson Church. Ooh, Julie will do it. All right. Anybody else? So we're going to start. Let's start with, I think, because anybody that reads it will get on and discuss it. I'm going to look up, Julie, I'll look up and message you later. We're going to start with Neville Goddard's. I think. Let's start. Feeling is the Secret. Depends on how old this book is. Feeling is the is the secret. So we'll see how old that book is, but sometimes the old ones are the best. Maybe in a few weeks, once we get done, I'll make sure that we talk beforehand, but we'll bring it on and have like a book club discussion on it. That'd be pretty cool. That'd be very, very cool. So yep, Neville Goddard's where we're going to start. All right. So Dawson Church, we've gone. All right, let's do it. So what are we going to do for a 1% tribe? This is it. Let's do the 4-minute daily. Close your eyes. Feel the end result. End with thanks. Do it when you're drowsy, right before bed. Figure out which area. Tonight, though, I want you to work on finding the bird. Finding whatever color bird you manifest and see if it comes into your reality at some point. Doesn't have to be a real bird either. That's what creeped me out. One time I did this experiment just to get used to it, and I did a red bird. Of course, it was not. Oh, you're going to die laughing. So like it was on this book we had, that I was like, it was a book that I got in the mail, had the red bird right on the front cover, right? It didn't have to be an actual red bird, but that's what the universe does, right? Choose one of these experts. So if you're in with me, I'm going to be reading Neville Goddard. There is the first one. Let me go back. Neville Goddard. Feeling is the Secret. That's the one. So if you're going to come in with me, that's the one we're doing. Or start your own book out of all of those. Please, though, study this. This is important. It's so important to you. Okay. So start possibly with Mike Dooley's Infinite Possibilities. That's a really good book. You can look at Abraham Hicks workshops, and their series is fantastic. Joe Dispenza has meditations out there. Join the minimum today, the 1%. Go to Tut's Adventure Club. Remember what it is? Totally Unique Thought Adventure Club. And then sign up for the Notes of the Universe. Because, ladies and gentlemen, the universe is rigged in your favor. You just have to visualize it. Okay? It is rigged in your favor. We just have to get our brain waves to understand that and not get pulled off of. See how the bad forces are, though? They don't want you knowing that this is the way it is. So they give you all kinds of stuff to do during the day, right? Everything to distract. Distractions are the one that'll get you. But just remember, the universe has already done it. We just have to catch up to it. So with that said, you guys were amazing audience. Don't forget to subscribe to the Prize Inside of Rumble, the podcast, YouTube. Look up the Prize Inside You. I appreciate all of you, and we'll see you Wednesday night, and I will not forget about you. Wednesday night, we'll get back to Whole Health Weekly, where we discuss weekly articles that are trending in health and holistic thinking. So with that said, you guys have a great night.